So in the previous video, I did already establish the foundation for how the strategy works by showing you the principles and how it is done, the steps that we take, and what we're looking for on the chart. This particular video is aimed at teaching you how to actually apply these things, and then how to take trades practically. In subsequent videos, we're going to be doing more practicals, but this is also practical. But in subsequent videos, we're going to be taking trades actually. Like we're going to be a lengthy back testing, and then some more trading tips. So without further ado, we're just going to go straight ahead to, as you already know, we're looking for three things on our charts when we're using this strategy. We're looking for what has been happening, what is currently happening, and what is the next likely thing to happen. All right. And then for us to determine those three things, we have to look for trend, price action, and structure. Please do not forget. Okay. Now, what has been happening is that we see price was in an uptrend. All right. Yeah, was in an uptrend. But then we can see that price is now breaking that uptrend to form a downtrend, right? We can see our price has now created a lower low, which is lower than this previous low, and then failed to create an higher high at this point. So we can say that this uptrend is now invalid. All right. Next thing we want to look out for, since we now know what is currently happening and we already know what was happening, is what is likely going to happen next. For this, we want to also consider price action and structure. All right. And of course, one logical thing, if price is in a downtrend, what is the next likely thing for price to do? This is it. Very simple. Price in a downtrend, we know that price will always create lower lows and lower highs, right? So we have a low point right here, we have a lower high, and then a lower low, another lower high. What is the next likely thing for price to do next? Create a lower low. So basically that is what is the next likely thing for price to do. But of course, how are we going to get into a trade? Where do we know when to get in for a sell? Or if price doesn't do what we're expecting, how do we know when to get into a buy? That's what we're going to do next by checking for structures and price action, right? So now here's the thing, we want to check for areas where price has found it difficult to go above or below. All right. And if price breaks above a certain point, we want to look for where is the next likely thing or next likely price range for price to experience difficulty. So if price shoots down, I think it's going to experience some difficulty at this point. So I'm going to put that down as my lowest price point. But here's the thing, right? We're looking to day trade and we're on the weekly time frame. We want to measure the price difference between here and there. This is 350 pips, which is not impossible, but on average, price does not always move that way. So if price is going to get here, what is the probability that it's going to get there, and what would be the issue if price doesn't get to that point, so we can take advantage of whatever problem? Because here's the thing about trading, whatever is a problem is actually an opportunity to make some money when it comes to trading. All right. So what difficulty would price experience before it's able to go down there? I think right here, I mean, we see how price reacted to this point as some sort of support. On this level right here, we see how price held as support right here, as support over here. Of course, if I extend this, and then as resistance right here, resistance, slightly resistance, and then support ever since price has been above it, right? So it means that for price to trade up to this point, it needs to break and close below this level. Now for price to, let's say, in a situation where price, we see price going to go to the upside, what is the next likely thing for price to do, or what would be the problem? It will be this area right here. We see our price has rejected this level constantly, right? We see that happen here, first time, second time, third time, fourth time. So it means that for price to go higher, for price to be able to push higher, it has to strongly break and close above this level. And then once price does that, where's the next likely thing for price to move to? It would be this place right here. Why is that? Of course, we see this is around the price point where we see price started to dump. And I mean, if I extend this quite further, you would see what I mean. Price acted as resistance at this point, right? Resistance at these 2 points, resistance at these 2 points, support at this point right here. So that is why I have that right there. And I think that will be pretty much all for the weekly time frame. All right. Or is there anything else we're yet to mention? Oh, yeah, of course, right here. Would see our price rejected above this level as well. So this would be, of course, a good place for us to take some profits when we take buys for about 60 8 pips. Not bad, not the best trade. However, if you're day trading, that's pretty much a good TP1 for you. All right. Now, moving on to the daily time frame. Let's see what do we have going on here. We're literally still looking for the same thing. All right. Now we need to, here's another thing you should consider when you're using this strategy. You want to ensure that at least 2 time frames or even 3 time frames are in confluence. I mean, the weekly time frame has to sync with the daily time frame, and the daily time frame has to sync with the 4 hour or the 1 hour time frame for you to say you have a valid setup. Otherwise, the setup is not that strong. All right. So let's ensure that you have these things in sync. Now, on the daily time frame, we are literally still doing the same thing. What has been happening, what is currently happening, what's the next likely thing to happen? So what has been happening right now is price is in a downtrend. All right. What is currently happening is that price is experiencing difficulty breaking above or below this level. So whatever it is that we're going to do has to be outside of these levels. Why? Simply because at this point, we can see that price clearly does not have a clear direction. All right, it is just going back and forth. And as a trader, you don't want to be trading in a ranging market where price is indecisive. You want to trade when price is very decisive in its actions. That's where you're literally going to make money. I mean, look at this. When price was decisive about going up, look at how many pips happened within a couple of days. 380 plus pips, when price was clearly decisive right here. Look at how many pips we got, right? So you don't want to be trading in a market like this. You want to, you know, look for clear breaks above certain levels that you've identified. Now, the next thing we want to do check for is price action. What is price action saying? I think price action is indicating a strong bearish presence in this market, which means that the most likely thing to happen next is for price to push further down. All right. So that is the most probable thing for price to do at this point. All right. So I'm going to delete this, and then I'm going to go ahead to hide this thing, since that price is likely not going to come here first. It is likely going to, push below this point. But if we ever see price break and close above this level, then we're going to review that next. But I mean, you don't necessarily have to hide it. I just like to do that because I really, really do hate messy charts. It messes with my head a lot, and I think there's just way too much color on this chart right now. Damn, it's disturbing my head. Yeah, this looks way better. Sorry, but I really do not like too much. Yeah, more relaxing. Still not at its best, but I don't want to make this video too long, so after this recording I'm going to adjust things further offline. Now on the daily time frame, we're still looking for we want to look for structures as well. If price is going to break below here, where is it going to experience some challenges? I think it's going to experience some challenges here, but I'm not going to mark that out yet. I want to mark this place out first, and I'm going to explain why in a bit. So we have price daily. So I mark that out because this is a major level of support, and we can see our price has literally respected this place more times than this. This is basically a one-off, right? Except for right here, even right here, we have to like draw stuff, but this is way more respected. So it's going to experience more difficulty at this point than it would at this point. This does not invalidate this area. It is also very valid, but I would rather just leave that out for now. Emphasis on for now, right? Moving on. Um, I think that's pretty much all. I'm going to hide this one as well for the same reason. And Eden, we know that the next likely thing for price to do will be to break below this area and then trade up to this point with our first take profits around this area, simply because of this level that we have at this point. So I'm going to drop down to the 4 hour time frame, which is why I'm holding off on that one, because I really want to see if it's going to be valid on the lower time frame. So on the lower time frame, we can see that price is pretty much, let's see. All right, so price is pretty much in an uptrend on the lower time frame. All right, however, price has failed to create an higher high, but instead it created a lower high, indicating a possible bearish reversal. All right, so this is what has been happening. This is what is currently happening, and the next likely thing to happen will be for price to apparently um we need price to apparently create a lower low for us to confirm that we're in a downtrend. But I mean, we're not going to see it. We're not going to sit out all of this right here, all of these possible peak movements to the downside, just for just to see, right? We want to take advantage by positioning ourselves for the likely things to happen. So this is the plan, right? If price breaks above here, we know that we want to look for buying opportunities towards that price points that we need. And looking at price action, we don't think that is currently a possibility, right? It means price is currently rejecting away from this weekly level that we have, and the price action is indicating a possible bearish reversal. I hope all of these things is actually making sense. If it isn't making sense or you do not understand what I've been saying, please do not hesitate to reach out. So we're looking for structures now. 11 minutes. All right, so we can see that price has been having difficulty breaking below this level on the lower time frame. All right, and so for price to actually continue to fall, it needs to break below this level, close below that level, and then we can consider the entry types that I spoke about in the previous video. But for price to go above this level, it needs to break above this level, right? So this is the gameplay, guys. We need price to break above this level, then we can look for entries to the upside, or we need price to break below this level, and then we look for sell opportunities to the downside. But I think it's more likely to do this than this. But however, whichever it does, we're prepared for it. So I'm dropping to the 1 hour time frame, guys. On the 1 hour time frame, let's see what's going on here. We don't have much going on, rather than price is having difficulty going above this level, and it was previously in an uptrend, however still failed to create an higher high, right? Same game plan, guys. Nothing really changes on this time frame, especially since we have pretty much the same thing happening on all of the time frames that we have analyzed so far. So I'm going to have to play this now. Why is it so damn slow? All right, good. Go, Jesus. This happened so damn fast. All right, it happened so damn fast. Basically, we couldn't get into a trade, but I mean, you can see how efficient this works, right? So if we've been able to, get into a trade, since our entries are preferably picked on the lower time frame, right, which is around 15 minutes to 5 minutes time frame, right, we would have gotten in around here, and we would have seen about 50 plus pips movement to the downside. But I mean, we did miss the entry. That's fine. There will always be another opportunity when it comes to trading. We just have to look for where is the next likely place to cause price to dump. And from the look of things, I think if price comes back to retest this area, we can see a move to the downside. And one more thing we can also check is by using the Fibonacci retracement tool from the recent high to the recent low in a situation where we're looking to sell. And I typically look out for two levels when I'm using the Fibonacci tool. I want to see a retest or rejection around the golden level, which is the 0.618 to 0.5 area, right? And for this, I'm going to change this to gold and remove the extension, reduce the opacity some more just so that it doesn't distract me further. I don't want borders, so I'm cleaning that off. And then the next level I want to look out for is the 0.86786 level, right? I want to see a rejection around either of these levels, right? We can already see some rejections of this area, so I'm going to drop to the 5 minutes time frame, and voila, you can see that rejection quite strongly. But here's the thing, right? This is pretty much in the middle of a normal, I like to call this the middle of a no man land zone, because it's basically in the middle of two zones, right? We have a resistance here, we have a support here. Price can easily reverse at any point to retest either of these levels. So taking a trade away from these levels, I consider them quite risky. All right, so we have our take profit at this point. Typically I would have just, you know, prefer to take my trade right here. But for people who like risky things, personally, if I'm taking a trade at this point, since I know that the risk is higher compared to taking the trade at either of these levels, I reduce my risk from the get-go, right? So I split my risk. That's how I'm going to put it. So if initially my plan was to risk say 2% on a single setup, at this point I'm splitting it into into two positions. That's 1% each. I'm putting 1% here. If trade goes against me, then I know I have another opportunity to take another 1% risk at this point if price comes back to retest and reject that level. Do you get what I mean? So we have price going our way. Right, there we go. There we go. I think we should take some profit at this point. We have a sluggish market, guys. Sluggish market right now. That's what we can see. But this is boom, gone. Picked our SL. That's fine. Now we need to see a clear rejection of either of these levels, right? Either this level or this level right here before we can get into any trade. For this, I'm switching to the 15 minutes time frame. Always switch between time frames, guys. Don't get carried away by just one time frame. Bam, it's gone. All right. So let's investigate, right? What type of price actions do we have? Remember, I've always said that my preferred type of entry is a rejection candle away from a certain level and a confirmation candle. So do we have a rejection candle off this level? Yes. Do we have a confirmation candle off this level? Yes. Which makes this trade more valid than this one over here. All right. So this is one of the things you have to look out for when taking trades. So right here, and our stop loss slightly above that level. Basically, guys, to be honest, I really hate to miss the first entries. It's usually like the slickest you're gonna get. Like, try as much as you can not to miss the first level. I do see a fair value gap at this point, but that's fine. Can let that slide. All right, there we go. There we go. Don't take my SL bitch. Jesus, sluggish market, guys. Sluggish. But this is outside of your control. There's nothing you can do about it. So it's going our way. Finally did hit our first take profit. So your stop loss should be at break even. We have clearly recovered from the first loss at this point, and we have trade almost hitting our final target, guys. All right, so the trade flowed into the next day. That's crazy. Boom, each final target. That right there is how the strategy works, guys. So it did hit our take profit for a 2.5 RR, which not bad. However, if we had gotten an earlier entry around here at the retest right here and a stop loss at the above the previous rejection, we would have had 1 to 3, which is a better risk to reward in my opinion, but we didn't. That's fine. We lost one, we made one. However, we lost just 1% at this point and we made 2.5% in return. And that basically, guys, shows you how the strategy works. I hope this makes things more clearer to you how the strategy works. However, I hope this, guys, makes things more clear to you how the strategy works. We have literally applied it, and you have seen the practical aspect of it. In the next video, we're going to be doing more examples, likely using a different pair, and I'll see you guys in the next video.